I wanted to tell her everything to her face, but I didn't know what exactly my father had told her. I was afraid that if I told her the truth, it would ruin their relationship. So, I decided to leave her in this illusion until my father returned. I didn't want to bother him when he already had enough problems with investors. As if one Linda wasn't enough for me, his daughter became my second headache. She was getting worse every day, constantly tearing down the curtains, playing with my equipment and breaking things, and Linda didn't even try to discipline her. During the month my father was away, Linda tested my patience to the limit. Every day she demanded something from me: clean the house, wash the dishes. Of course, I didn't do any of it, but her constant nagging was getting on my nerves. I stopped going into the living room to avoid her, but she started knocking on my door demanding I do her errands. I was under house arrest in my own home. When my father returned, I immediately talked to him about Linda's behavior. I said I couldn't live with her anymore. Either she pulls herself together or leaves. He apologized again and explained that Linda was 3 months pregnant, and that hormones were making her unbearable. Funny, considering he divorced my mother because of her hormonal state during menopause. I wonder how he's going to handle Linda now. I wanted to kick her out immediately, but my father begged me to give him a few months to sort things out. I told him I was planning to marry Alice and needed my personal space. At that time, I hadn't proposed yet, but I was thinking about it. My father assured me that in 6 months his business would be profitable, and he would move out. I asked him if he had told Linda that the house belongs to me, because she was acting like she ran the place. He didn't answer and changed the subject. Looks like he never told her the truth and didn't plan to. I don't know what he saw in that woman. He risked everything for her. Now I spend most of my time at Alice's, so things have become easier for me. But I'm just dreaming of the day when Linda finally leaves my house, and Linda is just relentless. Last time I mentioned I proposed to Alice and we planned to get married in a few months. But Linda seemed determined to turn my life into hell. Just a month after the engagement, she caused trouble. Alice usually doesn't come to my house, but this time I had a fever. I felt so bad I couldn't even lift my head. Alice knew about the situation in my family, but not the details. She didn't know, for example, that Linda considered my house hers. I'm not a gossip, so I avoid idle chatter. Alice stayed with me for a few days to take care of me. Linda used this moment to turn her against me. She told Alice that I was a lazy slacker who did nothing. Alice knows about my profession and income, so she defended me. Then Linda changed tactics and claimed it wasn't just about money, that a man should help his wife own the house, and I didn't lift a finger. She said she cooks and cleans after me. She said I had a patriarchal upbringing and that my father never helped her either, even though she was pregnant. Alice isn't a gold digger, but for her, it's important that a man helps with the housework and doesn't turn her into a free maid. Maybe for men this sounds silly, but for women it can be a serious issue. But Linda didn't stop there. She said infidelity was in my blood, just like my father, who left my mother for a mistress. Then she lied that I had already cheated on Alice and brought other women into the house. Alice asked her which women and when. When Linda described them, Alice said they were just my friends and colleagues, but Linda insisted that she saw me having fun with them. Complete nonsense. I was too sick to even notice any changes in Alice's behavior. The next day, she went home. I recovered a week later and went to see her. She looked uncertain and hesitant about continuing our relationship. When I asked what happened, she said maybe we were rushing things. I immediately knew this was because of Linda, because Alice isn't the type to doubt her decisions. She had said yes to my proposal right away and it was a conscious choice. I directly asked if Linda had spoken to her. At first, she didn't want to admit it, but when I insisted, she told me everything. I explained to Alice that Linda is a toxic woman living in delusions about my father's finances. The problem for Alice wasn't money, but that she needed a partner, not someone who'd just use her care. I realized that the damage had already been done, and the more I tried to convince her, The more she'd pull away, I decided to give her time, but I knew I had to remove the poison from my life, and that poison was Linda. I returned home and gave Linda hell for everything she told Alice. She just shrugged and said, "I told her the truth." I stormed into her room in a rage and started throwing her things into the living room. She immediately started yelling at me, threatening to call the police and tell my father. I shouted that I didn't care if she could do whatever she wanted. She screamed it was her house and I had no right to throw her out. I laughed in her face and shattered her illusions. I said the house belonged to me and my father begged me to let them live here. I told her to shut up and start packing. She tried to grab me by the collar, but I broke free and warned her never to touch me again. A few minutes later my father arrived. She must have called him as soon as I started throwing her stuff out. He grabbed me and tried to calm me down, but I didn't hold back and said he had made a huge mistake getting involved with that slut. Linda expected my father to lash out at me for those words, but he just shouted at her to shut up. She demanded that he kick me out. In the end, he had to tell her the truth, that the house really belonged to me. Linda was in shock and started blaming him, calling him a liar. My father pulled me aside and begged me to give Linda one last chance. I said no way. She tried to destroy my life, tried to ruin my relationship, and I won't let her stay. I didn't sugarcoat it. I said he could take his slut wherever he wanted. But I wouldn't let her turn my house into a brothel. My father gave in, packed their things, and left. The whole time, Linda cursed me, my father, and even my mother. I wanted so badly to go out there and punch her, but I didn't want more trouble. A week has passed since they left. Yes, it felt good to put Linda in her place, but my conflict with my father has completely destroyed our relationship. I know I went too far with the insults, but I hope my father understands Alice means more to me than anything, and Linda tried to separate us. The next day, I went to my mom and told her everything. She laughed until she cried, sipping wine. She invited Alice over for dinner and cleared up her doubts about the patriarchal upbringing in our family. My mom's story reassured Alice because she told the truth. Even after the divorce, my father always respected my mom. My mother never imposes her opinion, but speaks so confidently it's hard not to believe her. She advised me to give Alice space and not pressure her. I hope things will work out. She's still wearing my ring. Mom said Linda will soon start hunting for a new man once she realizes my father has no money. Linda really does run from one rich man to another. I don't know what my father's situation is now, and I no longer feel sorry for him. He made his choice, and it was the wrong one.